Okay, so today we're gonna dive into something pretty wild.
Yeah.
This is some stuff that our listener, sent to us about this artist Reldov,
Round of love, right?
also known as Ray Carrasquil.
Uh-huh.
And he's got some very interesting ideas about reality and sort of like the nature of things.
Yeah, sort of like the systems that we live in and how they function.
Yeah, so we want to kind of like break it down, you know what I mean, and like explore like what's at the heart of what he's saying.
Yeah, like his core argument,
Yeah, exactly. And see what we can like learn from it, or at least like, try to understand where he's coming from.
for sure.
So, one of the first things that he brings up, which is, kind of a classic, is this idea of Plato's cave.
Right. Yeah, he starts with that like familiar concept, like we all kind of know that story, prisoners in a cave only see shadows and think that's reality.
Yeah.
And he kind of uses that as a way to show how we're all limited in our perception, like maybe we're all kind of stuck in some kind of like simulation.
Yeah, like we're not really seeing the full picture.
Exactly. And then he kind of takes it like a huge step further and makes this comparison to the Matrix.
Oh, yeah, that's where it gets really trippy.
Yeah.
So like the Matrix, the movie where like people are plugged into the system and they're like powering it without even knowing?
Right.
He's basically saying that like society kind of works like that.
Like we're all these little batteries,
Yeah, we're like giving our energy and our taxes and like our very lives to keep this whole machine running.
Yeah. And it's not just like one country or anything,
Right.
He's talking about like a global system.
Right, like a worldwide phenomenon.
Yeah, exactly. Like
Yeah.
it doesn't matter where you go, it's all kind of the same.
Right, and he actually says like straight up, I really think this is a simulation.
That's a pretty bold statement.
It is, and like, to make it even more like kind of unsettling, he points out how like perfectly everything in nature seems to work.
Yeah, like the ecosystem and all that.
Yeah, like it's all so precise.
Yeah.
Like it's almost like it was programmed that way.
Right, like some kind of pre-programmed system.
Yeah, and he's like, nothing really makes sense, like the more you think about it, the weirder it gets.
And then there's this really interesting thing that he talks about, which is this like experience that he had.
What's that?
Like he kept meeting the same person, but like in different bodies,
What do you mean?
like different faces, different looks, but like the same personality.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And this happened over and over again. And he started thinking like, maybe there's only like a limited number of personality types,
Like they're just being recycled or something?
Yeah, exactly. And what's really interesting is that he saw this in two totally different cultures.
Oh, wow. So like
Yeah, so it wasn't just like a thing in one specific place.
no matter where you go, it's like the same patterns are playing out.
Exactly. And this then made him really think about like the pressure to conform,
Like the whole monkey see, monkey do thing.
Yeah, and he felt like he had to break free from that, even if it meant being like an outsider.
Right. So he kind of chose to detach himself from that whole system.
Yeah, and he even says, stick to your guns and be yourself.
Which is easier said than done right.
Totally. But it's like that whole idea of the absurd,
Yeah.
like the bigger picture doesn't really make sense. So you might as well just be true to yourself.
Right. And he connects this back to like Albert Camus and like the philosophy of absurdism.
Right, like embracing the meaninglessness of it all.
Yeah. He even quotes Socrates. Like, I know that I know nothing.
Classic.
But like, even though it's kind of like a bleak outlook, he's actually like really positive about it.
Yeah, he's all about like living passionately.
Yeah, like to the point of tears, like
Right.
really feeling everything.
Right, because that's like the ultimate rebellion against this like ridiculousness that we're all caught up in.
Right. And he also has this great quote.
What's that?
He says, everything exists but nothing.
Whoa, that's deep.
I know, right? Like it really makes you think.
So it's like this idea that we might be living in a simulation, this like machine run by society.
Yeah. And within that, we might feel insignificant and like nothing really matters.
But the way to fight back is to like really live,
Exactly. To find meaning in your own experiences and like question everything.
Powerful stuff.
It is. And it kind of makes you wonder, like, what if he's right?
Yeah, like how would that change the way we see the world?
And like, what would it mean to really live passionately if that was the case?
Yeah, something to ponder.
It is. It really is. Thanks for listening.
Cheers.
And we'll catch you on the next deep dive.
See ya.
Bye.